This is our Unconstitutional Awakening program.
Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition.
Brought to you by Kaytlyn Consulting Redesign.
Ahoy there, mateys. It's time to set sail on another episode of Unconstitutional Awakening, the podcast. I'm your host with the most, Beetlepool. No, I'm just kidding, you guys. This is another one of my costumes I've been working on because you know it's spooky month. So I figured I'd show up one of my homemade creations tonight. Of course, tonight we're gonna continue with spooky kind of stuff, and we're gonna talk ghost stories and real life experiences dealing with ghosts and things like that. And I thought, who better to bring along for such a conversation than Miss Vicki back? Our medium we had on last time that was such a joy to have with us and had great conversation with. So, of course, thank you so much for coming back and joining us again this evening. And of
Thank
course,
you for having me back.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And of course, in the ranks with us this evening, we got Bandit, Neptune, Ox, and Kaytlyn all here joining us tonight. So this should be a good, fun conversation. I think. Like we were talking a little bit before it. We already got the spooky juices flowing, you guys. Like it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a good night, good conversation. So, of course, you guys know where you can catch all this going on. You're out there watching and Rumble and BitChute and Odyssey, and you're listening. Lord knows from Lord knows where on any of the audio apps. I've actually been seeing somebody check in from Budapest, Hungary, all this week. So I kind of dig that. I appreciate that. That's a new one for the list. But you can find all the great stuff that you can find us and more over here at unconstitutionalawakening.com. That's got links back to all the places you can watch and listen, including listening on there, and to get you some sweet Unconstitutional Awakening merch, as well as check out our awesome sponsors, Kirk Elliott, Peachy Key Creations, Ammo Can Survival, and Homeschools Connected. And there's also a bunch of new stuff going on over here, man, with the podcast and more. You've got not only the places that you can watch us and other shows that we've been invited to, but Kaytlyn's got a little spot going on now where she's sharing some cool stuff, and even Bandit's going to start sharing some stuff on the urban gardener and stuff. So you guys make sure you check all that out. We appreciate everybody that's been watching and keeps this thing going. That's just kind of the way it goes. So, of course, as usual, I like to go around the table and see how everybody's doing tonight. I'd like to start with our guest this evening. How are you doing, Miss Vicki? How's things going? How's things been for you since last we spoke?
Actually, getting a lot better. Thank you very much for having me back. I appreciate it. I really do. Really excited for Halloween because a lot of the paranormal stuff really starts kicking up then. But I see it all the time. But it gets a little bit more intense around Halloween. So I'm excited for that.
I think there's a big energy shift in the fall, and I think that it opens a lot of portals. Like to me, that's like a thing. Like there's a
there is. The veil gets very, very thin, close to nil of being one on. It happens 2 times a year, once in May, and then once Halloween.
So like when spring starts coming in truly good, and then when fall starts coming in.
Exactly. And then, like I mentioned before on the other podcast, you got a lot of people adding to opening up portholes and dabbling and stuff that they don't know what they're doing. And then you got the portholes that are already there that are very active. So it just kicks it in a lot more.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and there's an influx of that kind of stuff going on during this time of year because people are even unknowingly opening up these portals and stuff. Like that's a very believable thing. I think we'll get into it a little bit that this evening, so I look forward to that. Bandit, how's it going this evening, buddy?
It's going fantastic, man. Absolutely fantastic.
I think it is too, buddy.
Oh, it is.
We've had a little bit of fun the past couple days, and I think it's going to continue. So, Ox, what's going on up there, buddy? I haven't seen you on in a little while.
I know it's been a little bit, and I'm happy to be back. It's tonight's going to be a really good episode, I think.
Good. You've been hanging on over there in the West Coast. I know how them Californians treat you.
It's not fun. I want out. I want off this ride. But in the meantime, they're not going to take my rights without pulling back a stump. So
that's why I love you, buddy. Kaytlyn, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm trying to find a spot to prop everything up. Too cold outside.
Oh yeah, it's starting to get chilly. It's raining over here. I don't know what the weather's doing on Neptune's side of the state, but I know up here today it was really humid. Now it's
No, I just witnessed it. We just got hit with a straight line storm, and I looked at the radar and I knew you guys were getting hit, and I know you guys were getting hit.
Speaking of Neptune, how you doing down there, buddy?
Brother, I am a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, but I'm doing just fine.
As long as you're holding it together, man, that's all that matters.
Yep.
Yeah. All quiet on the Western Front.
So ghosts have always been a subject matter that, are something that is definitely spoke about in many different legends or myths or books or YouTube's pictures, documentaries, documents in their own way. Ghosts are a very prevalent part of the world we live in. Whether you believe in them, whether you don't, there's still a reason, I guess, to talk about them, because there are unexplainable experiences that occur every day. And I've had, I guess, what I consider ghost experiences. Like I've seen apparitions not only with my physical eyes, but gone back from photos that I've taken when I've been hunting for them, because that was totally something I did when I was in my early 20s, because I thought it was cool to drive around and crawl through haunted places in the state of Georgia, because it's slam full of them.
Come up to Appalachia, man.
Georgia, Appalachia,
But
yeah.
can
Savannah is very haunted.
Can we pause for a second? Most people have a misconception of what a ghost is.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Different people have different ideas of what ghosts are. I've heard ghosts described as interdimensional beings that we can't quite see, only partially see, then shifting. Fallen angels.
Ourselves. I've heard ourselves.
Different things can be, mistaken for, or, demons.
But is it also fair to ask that maybe ghosts reveal themselves differently to different people? I don't know.
Yeah. I just wanted to get this. Talk going. Describe what it is that we're going to be we're talking about before we just say ghost.
Well, I think for majority of us, it's just like the experiences for tonight. Like for us, it's just like the experiences. Like I don't know about you guys, but most of mine have not been like full on apparitions where I can see clearly. It's been like shadow people, and
mine have been mostly sounds.
Sounds too. Yeah, I've heard sounds. Seen shadow figures.
I've
just all kinds of things.
I've dealt with your regular everyday, move something around spook, and I've dealt with your full-fledged poltergeist that set my house on fire. So I believe there's definitely different levels of different kinds of spirits and different kinds of things that are out there invisible to the human eye, whether it's a demon, whether it's a ghost, whether whether it's an alien, whether it's you fucking with yourself from the future or the past. Like there's a million. We did just talk about that. There's a million different. Exactly. There's a million different.
Let's not bring that up again, okay? We're not doing that again.
Oh no, we'll have those girls back too, man. We had a blast with them. I love Kate and Kat. Like they were a blast. They spooked poor Bandit a little off again for the second time in a row.
So let's try and get some clarity here if we can then, you guys. What really constitutes a ghost in these situations? I mean, do you have any insight for us, Vicki?
Are you talking to me? I'm sorry. I can barely hear you guys.
Yeah, sorry. What really is a ghost? I mean, maybe you could give us some clarity on that.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I think a lot of people, because they can't see them or they don't really know, the first word they go to is a ghost, because it's just there. You know what I mean? It's just become the social word. I guess you might have society for trying to describe something, because a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot more out there besides ghosts and demons, and aliens. To me, honestly, a ghost is somebody that can move things, you can literally see them walking around. It's kind of like an apparition. You can literally see them walking around. Okay. To me, that's a ghost. A spirit is somebody that, they don't really make themselves known, but they can move stuff a little bit. They can kind of creep you out a little bit. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It's a lesser degree, so to speak.
Yeah. Now, the only ones that can really move stuff are demons. They like toss furniture around, demons, or an entity. Okay, an entity that is high up there, like a split soul, one that their soul's been split, where part of them's not here, the other one's evil, and they're just like their residual energies in that environment. And they can actually move stuff. I usually call those wall climbers because they like to climb the wall. Pardon me?
Poltergeist? Where does that fall in with that? Because I know I've heard them being able to move objects in the room, move people.
There's different levels and strengths of poltergeist. That's why there's different colors. You can get them in white, the misty color, the ghosty white color. Then there's the yellow, the orange, the red, the blue. So each one's a different level. And I believe the one that's the highest is the red one. And that's like close to don't quote me on this, but kind of like demonic level. It's like they're very powerful. Not all poltergeists are good. They're like right up there with like an evil entity or a demon.
I mean, do you remember the movies?
Yeah.
From the 80s? Not to, he bring up stuff like this, but one of my little sisters totally looked like the little girl from Poltergeist. And that was about the same time those movies were coming out. She had the straight platinum blonde hair and everything. Mm-hmm. And we would be in the grocery store and she would mimic their hair like perfect.
Oh, wow.
Freak people out, man.
It's funny.
Oh, I bet.
But I think Hollywood has a big effect on what people perceive as ghosts, though. Now that I bring up movies like that, they have like really confused a lot of people, I think.
Well, they do that. They tell a lot of truth and a lot of lies. So,
well, Hollywood knows how a lot of these horror stories that you see, a lot of these ones that they're saying they aren't real and everything
are real.
Are real. They're real. Like I think we brought this up on the other podcast. They travel like you're not daydreaming these things up. It's like they could be sleeping, or when they do like meditate or whatever, they go into these other realms and they see these creatures or entities or aliens, whatever realm they go into, and they come back and they draw them up and they slap them on a movie and run with it. And then a lot of these Hollywood movie things, they are using
ideas don't come from nowhere. They don't come from nowhere. You know,
Jimmy,
they
I have said
come
that
from somewhere.
constantly. Have I not brought that up 1,000 times before?
You
Just
have.
what Kaytlyn just said. Like,
if we're gonna-
ideas don't come from nowhere.
Right.
If we're gonna start quoting movies though about ghosts, I mean, there's really only one that we can truly go to. I mean,
Yes,
They're original, the best, the best of the best. No, I was in high school when Paranormal Activity came out, the first one. Okay, and back then, the big rumor was nobody knew if it was real or not. Just found footage.
Blair Witch.
You know? And
The
like
Blair Witch,
that
too.
movie scared me to death because I didn't know if it was real or not.
Well, the Blair Witch Project, they had the same thing about that too. It's like they didn't know if that was
Not
real.
quite that old, Bandit. Sorry.
Well, it's like
No, that's not.
Not that old. Hold the front door now. I remember when the Blair Witch came out.
No, I was alive when it came out. I wasn't old enough to watch those movies yet.
I think I'm the
I
oldest
forgot.
one here.
I forgot how old I really am.
Well, Paranormal Activity came out when I was in high school too, and I remember
Okay.
watching that. I remember
Who's that?
taking a girl on a date to a movie theater to go see that because I had a beard and I could get us into a rated R movie. And,
Yeah, I had to wait till it came out on DVD. So
okay. But I remember her leaving that movie theater in like a state of paralysis. Like,
yes.
please, I'll ask my parents if you can come over. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I just kind of want to go home, like, chill. It was like some
It was
people really thought it was real. And
yeah.
the cinematography was pretty good for the time, if I can remember correctly.
I did, yeah. At that time, for that time period, it really was. And like, I think that was really, I mean, the Blair Witch Project as a found footage, yeah. But like for our generation, that was the found footage movie that scared the shit out of us because we didn't know if it was real or not. Like we really didn't.
I want to
That's
know
something that's
what
intriguing.
always intrigued me about those movies was, and about the Blair Witch and all of those supposed found footage movies. What if they really are? What if that footage really is real?
Yeah.
And in order to cover it up, they slapped it as a Hollywood movie and
That's
really
what they do.
public.
Filmed a few scenes with
what
a
they
few
do.
actors.
And then yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen theories
That's what
about how
Hollywood does. They
I
mask it
have
as
seen
entertainment
theories.
so that we don't believe it. It's less believable if they present it as just entertainment, as just art.
I've seen theories where they will have actors that look slightly different throughout the movie because on some clips they hypothesize that they're real clips while other clips are, actors filling in.
That's what I'm
to
saying.
get whatever they didn't get on film into that.
Now,
Just to
one of
make
my
it look
favorite found footage movies, it's like it was like straight to Netflix, type thing. It's called Ghost Encounters or Ghost Adventures or something like that, where they go to the asylum. Okay. And it's actually it's one movie and then it's a sequel, and sequel kind of wraps it all up because the first movie kind of ends with like a cliffhanger. You don't really know who's alive and who's not at the very end. And then in the second one, you find out that like the host of this ghost adventure show who took them to the asylum, he's been trapped in this asylum this whole time. And the reason why he can't get out is because the asylum is actually alive. And like all the energy there from where the doctors had done like witchcraft and summoned all this nasty shit and portals and stuff. So basically the whole layout was switching around, and he had like mapped out and knew which doors were going to switch when, and all kinds of stuff. But the asylum wanted the footage out. Like it would only let one of them leave with all of the footage. It had to be a complete movie.
Interesting.
Speaking of asylums, Kentucky has one of the most famous ones in the U.S. The haunted ones, Waverly Hills.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
We have one down here too,
I believe.
in Milledgeville, and it's interesting that the one that we have and the one that you have up there, Bandit, even though they're closed and abandoned, they're still there. Of all things that to not be removed, they turn things into they level things and turn them into Walmarts real quick, but they seem to leave these asylums alone.
I wonder why.
There's a reason for that.
Around me they don't, because Hotel California, the one that they wrote the song about.
Oh yeah.
That's a college out by me now. That is a university.
Really?
Right by me, and that shit is creepy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at the problems they have when they were building stuff on top of Indian burial mounds.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know Colorado has a couple of parks that are literally built on top of graveyards? They removed the headstones, threw grass seed down, and made a couple of the cemeteries into parks. People are picnicking and playing on graveyards.
Yeah, and I mean, we really don't know what's buried underneath us. We really have no idea what is buried underneath us anywhere.
The old Fort Pulaski Confederate Hospital in downtown Savannah was converted into a building for SCAD.
There's a lot of stuff down there in Savannah Savannah's a hot spot.
Savannah is very haunted.
Yeah, Savannah is haunted as hell.
That's down there where you are. Like there's a list. Like I could just put Savannah in, and it'll bring up a list of some of the world's most haunted places. Actually,
yeah.
Like
my uncle was stationed there for a long time, for many years, and we would go visit him. Multiple summers, and every summer I always was very interested in the haunted and ghost stuff and stuff like that. So I mean, even as a kid, like when we go visit, they would take me on the haunted tours of Savannah. And I mean, some of them are really.
So, Miss Vicki, before we started, you were sharing a recent medium thing that you had going on with us.
Yes.
And you sent me a clip and stuff. So I guess if we could get a little background and talk about that, I'd like to actually talk about that.
It was actually one of the paranormal cases that I worked here from where I live, and the case was in California. And I met this lady. She sells stuff on. I'm not going to use names and stuff because of confidentiality, but she did give me the okay to share the story and everything, because she believes that people need to be aware about this stuff because it's real. She wasn't a believer at first until, stuff. She met me.
Until it happened.
Yeah, and it was just too much. I met her on Instagram, and she sells stuff, high-end makeup on there. And one night I was on there, and there's about 20 of us the first time I was on there. And she goes, Vicki, do you see something there? And I was like, yeah, I see a old lady standing behind you, but she's got kind of like a sinister look on her face. And she's like, oh my gosh, one of the people that used to live here that died here was an old lady. And she said her daughter died. And then I said, yeah, and there's a man there too. But I said, do you mind if I travel through your home? And she goes, no, that's okay. And so I said, yeah, I see you got a lot of activity. The hallway's dark. It's like black. You got a lot of activity. And there's a black spot at the end by one room. And I was literally telling her what was there. I said, bathroom, bedroom, bedroom, and bedroom. And she said, oh my gosh, yes. And she goes, let me get up and show you. She goes, I can't believe this. So she got up and she showed me, and I got really sick when she went in front of her daughter's door. I said, you got to get me away from there. And she goes, I said, just step back a couple of steps and everything. I said, because that's so negative. It's like demonic. And she goes, are you serious? I was like, yes. So anyway, she goes, can I take you in there? I was like, let me prepare myself. And so I did. And she opens the door, and I was like, it's in the closet. It's in the closet. And she's like, oh my gosh, I see it. You can see it. And I was like, you need to get out of there. Just close the doors. Don't let your daughter sleep in there or anything like that, because that's its space and it attacks your daughter. And she's like, oh no, the daughter sleeps with them in their bedroom. She's got like a little bed and stuff off to the side and everything. Well, she was on again. So anyway, I was up until like 6 o'clock in the morning talking to her and her husband, giving her all the information that I told them about. I said, there's a lot of death in that neighborhood. And I said, what's there is demonic. And that first night I said, I see your grandfather sitting. I said, a grandfather figure man sitting in the chair over there. He's wearing suede boots, a cowboy hat. And I said, he's protecting you. And she brought out pictures, and the second grandfather was the one that it was. And she was like, oh my gosh. She goes, he died of cancer. And she said, I found this like cancer thing, charm thing for crocs outside. And I was like, yeah. I said, it's his way of letting you know that he's around there protecting you. So anyway, she went on again a couple weeks later and did a live, and there was like 20, 25 of us on there. And she was sitting there talking with us, describing the makeup. And she goes, I just get really weird, creepy, I just get this really weird feeling. She goes, let me go ask Steven if he's okay and everything. We were like, okay. So she goes and she checks on Steven and her daughter and her son, and then comes back and she sits down. And when she sits down, there's something moving, something on her counter over there. And she goes, did you guys hear that? And I was like, no. And she had a little fan on her desk, and she shut it off. And she goes, do you hear that now? And we could hear it. All of a sudden, it was like she started getting paralyzed. And her husband's watching her Instagram in the bedroom, and their daughter's laying next to him on the bed, and the son's in his room. And it all happened to them at the same time. It was like this paralyzing feeling. And it was like cold, paralyzing. You couldn't move your hands, but she could talk. And she's like, it's right next to me. I was like, we all saw it. It literally started manifesting. So everything that I told them prior that was going to happen when we talked at 6 o'clock in the morning and things started happening. And she said, I didn't realize it was going to happen really soon. And I said, I told you it was going to start happening. And she's like, yeah, you did. But she goes, I'm just mind blown. And so her husband messaged her and said, I'm getting the same. All of us are getting the same reaction that you're getting. So she got really freaked out. So all of us stayed up talking until about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning that time. And then, what was it? They had a lot of weird stuff going on, and I stayed in contact with them, and they sent me pictures. And so I was able to tell them from the security thing that was what it was. And then I talked to the daughter, and I said, I talked to the little girl, and I talked to the mom, and I said, she sees them, but it's threatening her. It's threatening her. And that's when they told me that when the mother came over, the wife's mother came over, she got a toy thrown at her, and she accused their daughter of doing it, and she got in trouble. And she's like, they questioned her again, and they were like, no. She's like, no, mommy, no, daddy, I didn't do it. It's the black thing over there, And they were like, okay, like that. And then they started, they brought up that she was doing the pictures of knife stabbing, people being hung. And I could just see in her eyes the starting of the possession taking over and everything. So, and they don't let her daughter listen to watch shows like that. And so anyway, we were talking, and I said, let me talk to your daughter. And I said, if you don't mind. So I was talking with her, and she was facing me, and they went through the kitchen where they were sitting at, and they were at the desk part, kind of like a big office space off the side of the dining room. And she goes, yeah, she goes, talk to her. Maybe she'll answer you and everything. I said, okay. So I talked to her, and she's like, no, it's okay. And in her eyes, my guys are saying, no, they're threatening her. It's threatening her. So anyway, she was standing there talking. We were just like giggling, talking about her fairy wings and everything. And the whole wall, I said, it's coming. I said, the little girl's watching me. And the mom goes, what? And I said, it's coming. I said, get ready to grab Bella. And excuse me. And so anyway, she turns around, and the wall just starts going black, all black. You couldn't see any of the pictures on the wall or nothing. And I said, it's coming. I said, and all of a sudden I said, get ready to grab Bella. And she turns her head, and it was like Poltergeist, the Exorcist, or what's the one where they were just like the turning of the head like that. And I said, grab her right now, grab her. And her mom grabbed her, wrapped her in the arms. I said, you need to get a hold of your husband and get out of there now. And that's the same day that that voice happened. Excuse me, I skipped a part. The voice, they were in the room. She was putting clothes away. And her daughter was in her room too, playing with a Barbie doll. And we were talking about something. And she was starting to cough really bad. And it was choking her, like using her energy through her voice to be able to talk. And that was something that went on quite a bit at her place, is like they'd always start coughing. It was like it was being choking them out using their voice, or her husband would be laying in bed and feel this pressure on top of his chest. And there was talks about, there was a guy that actually killed himself in that house. He hung himself in that house, committed suicide. And a lot of all the adults started having where they wanted to start committing suicide themselves. Got really depressed and everything. So that's where the voice clip is. And they ended up fleeing that house. It was like the third top, pretty intense case that I've ever worked.
Hey, you actually sent me this voice clip.
I can barely hear you.
I'm sorry. You actually sent me this voice clip here. So
Yes.
I was gonna pull that up for everybody to listen to. You guys just want to hang on a second?
Yeah.
No, you know, but no, you know, but no, you know, but
That's wild. Yeah, I mean, I clearly hear something going on there.
Mm-hmm. Can you hear something?
Yeah, it's actually a demon that's been on that property for centuries and is calling in other ghosts and stuff. And every one of the people that it's killed in that home is there. And that whole neighborhood was a gangbanger area. Okay, a lot of shootings. Kids got shot on that street. There's 2 cemeteries in the area. A lot of blackness. I was trying to teach them the difference in the energies from where they lived and to the place they were staying. And she showed me this one house there, and you could literally see the demon standing in front of the window. Nobody was home, and the curtains would move open. It knew that we were looking at it.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, your neighbors know that this goes on. And it actually, they did. They brought it up. They were like, you know what? I forgot all about that. My neighbors did say, oh, don't worry about them. They just passed through here and everything. And I'm like, no, where you live at, your house, that was like the big kahuna's place where they came over. Whoever was there fixed the house up. They shot it up with the walls with bullet holes, punched the walls and everything. They partied there. It was just a lot of negativity there. And everyone that lived there has been killed by this. And the tragic part is it literally killed her child while she lived there. Because a lot of people don't understand, demons can suck the life out of people, no matter if it's in the womb or if it's like outside the womb here.
See, I always thought that you had to like invite a demon in. I always thought that you had to be in order to be possessed, you had to kind of invoke something onto yourself, and
you can do that without even thinking about it. You can do that without even thinking you're doing it. You don't you can do that unintentionally.
Yes.
You can do it while you watch a Hollywood movie and they're using real demons' names and you're sitting there repeating it. You just welcome it into your home and into your life.
Right.
But
I knew about that.
You also got to realize too, there's stuff that's attached to these grounds that we walk on that we don't know what's happened tragically there, or a sacrifice is there, or a porthole's there. Everything has been built on top of another thing. And there's been lots of tragedy that's happened. So we don't know. We don't know what's happened, but demons can connect to land. I have one here that's outside here. That's here. I have one inside my house here. I'm trying to get out of my place, you know?
I think this actually is a good segue into a video that Bandit sent me, talking about like different kinds of things going on in houses and possessions and stuff. And this is just a real quick video, but I figured this is a really good video of this, and we'll talk about it after we check this out. Check this out. It's only a minute and 14 seconds.
Okay.
Why the creepy music though?
Well, because that's the way to do it. Is,
Creepy video.
That's
No, I think from what you've been describing, from that first house,
realize kids that young don't quite
Yeah,
realize
no.
exactly what's happening, and
No,
what
they
that could actually lead to.
yeah,
How are they gonna? Because like if kids come to you from that age, if a child was to come to you and say, try to explain what just happened, you'd brush it off as they've got an imaginary friend. So I mean,
imaginary friends have always creeped me out because I didn't have one of those when I was growing up.
Everybody didn't have a nice Beetlejuice to hang out with? Or,
well, you got to remember, demons can disguise themselves as anything.
Yeah.
As your best friend that passed away, as an animal, as a child, as your grandparent, as your neighbor, anybody.
Right.
So that right there, I would have to say yes, that was a demon in that house and is disguising themselves as an elderly woman. In that video right there, it's disguising itself as an elderly woman.
Interesting.
That's what my guys are telling me.
Yeah, I would. What you've been describing, I'm pretty sure what I experienced was a demon then, and the only explanation I can think of is the land, because it was a double wide that we moved into after my parents got divorced. I was like 7 or 8, and right after that, my mom got really, really sick, and it wasn't long after she got sick that like in my room at night, I would start to see, my room was my bed was up against the wall. And at the foot of my bed, it was like an empty space, and it would manifest from the foot of my bed at this empty space from the wall. And it was just this dark shadow figure that would dart across my room, and go out my door, like fly out my door. Okay. And then one night I woke up in the middle of the night. My mom used to wake me up for school by bending down at my bedside, just kind of gently waking me up. And the same thing happened. Okay. It was so dark outside, so I thought it was just early in the morning. I see my mom. Okay. I smile at her. And when she smiles at me, these teeth, I mean, this probably is the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. These teeth were so fucking scary, like shark's teeth, multiple of them, like multiple rows of them. And like when I jumped up, it like I swear I heard a laugh, and it just like slowly faded away. And then a few weeks after that, I went into my mom's room while she was getting ready for work, and she was at her vanity, and my mom didn't really snap at us or anything. And I said, "Mama," and she turned around real quick and said, "What?" And when she did that, in the mirror behind her, I could see this long black hand with these fingers on her shoulder going all the way down to her chest. And I just said, never mind. I was frozen to I was like 9. But then after that, I had to live with my dad because my mom got really, really sick.
That's a demon. Demons spread sickness. Demons spread sickness. They enslave, they entice, they harass.
Yes.
They will kill you. They bring on addictions.
Yes.
They bring on addictions.
And that's what exactly happened to her.
Whether it's eating, over exercising, doing the wacky tobacco, drinking, whatever it is, they add to it because they're trying to get you to the point where you don't have anything. They don't want you to have anything. And their main goal is to possess you or to kill you, because they can turn around and nab your soul. Do you understand? And keep you here on the earthly realm. Keep you here, stuck here on the earthly realm, and keep you running and running if you don't automatically, go to heaven.
Yeah.
Go to the light. Go to heaven. So
Right.
yeah, but yes, that is exactly what it is. As soon as you said that, somebody, do you know the background on that mobile home or anything? Because I was being
I
told somebody
don't.
killed themselves there.
I don't, but I always got that feeling because my mom, she said at one point in that, like at her lowest point in time, she was by herself. We were at our dad's, and she had a gun, just for her personal safety, in the hall closet, which was across from her room. And she said that she was just sitting there thinking, like, this is not the life. And my mom was not a depressed person like that. She never had those thoughts. And that hall closet opened up where the gun was. And she said that when that happened, she got the hell out of there and she didn't come back.
Yeah. It was trying to make her really depressed and have these like really evil thoughts, bad thoughts and stuff like that. So she would get up and go to the gun.
To the
But her
hall,
angels and things were protecting her.
yeah.
She snapped out of it and got out of there. That's what my guides are telling me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
She's always had angels, and she's always told me she's always dispatched them around. And I've always, rolled my eyes at it. But I mean, I believe it because there's a lot of times where I should have not been alive, and I am. And I think it's due to her praying constantly over me. I really do. She tells me all that. And it's not just me, my brothers and his wife, their families, my family. And the more things that happen to me in my adult life, the more I believe that.
So Bandit, what kind of paranormal experiences have you dealt with?
I lived in a house just a few years ago that I really don't know what to. I don't know if it was like a reoccurring thing, but I never spoke to the previous owners, any owners afterwards, or anything. But I would be the only one home in the basement, and I would hear babies crying upstairs when no one was home. I would hear footsteps up and down the hallway. I would hear in the basement, I would hear scratching from on the other side of the wall where there was only sheetrock against, foundation brick. I woke up one morning and found muddy footprints up and down the hallway and up to all the doors and windows. But there was the windows were still locked from the inside, doors were still locked from the inside, everything was locked up tight, and it wasn't me. I mean, that's enough to just make you, and I was the only one home. That's enough to make you, and there were instances where there were noises that, just shouldn't have happened. It's just one of those times where you actually will reconsider everything until you've experienced it. You could be deny these things exist all you want. And until you experience them firsthand yourself in situations like that, it'll make you reconsider everything you think you know about that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I had tried, I even went so far as I tried to look up the previous history of the house and the neighborhood, if anybody had killed themselves in a neighbor's house or previous families had something happen within their own family, if something had been brought into the house that wasn't supposed to be there, stuff like that. But I'm telling you, that is the closest I've come to oh shit moments where it's just okay, all right.
Fair enough.
And nothing has happened since,
Yeah.
It was the house.
I'm in now.
The property.
Yeah.
And that was definitely a demon there. They were using a baby. They bait you in. They'll use babies and children. Okay, like the baby cry to get you to go up and look so they can turn around and attack you. They use that to get people to come in and kind of sucker them in. and everything.
And I've heard that they get attached. Some people will actually have stuff attached to their families, attached to them individually, and they think that once they move, they can get away from it, but it will be attached to them as a person, even attached to their family, stuff that can pass down generational. I've heard of that happening.
Oh yeah, they can attach to you when you're coming through the your soul comes through the firmament into this realm, from the spirit realm to through the firmament to this realm. Okay, they literally can attach to you. Then they can also attach to you in the womb too.
I think whatever was in that childhood double I lived in, I think it attached to me, and I think it followed me for quite some time.
She is really up fighting it.
I really do.
Who's really fighting it?
I think he was.
Whoops, my dad. I forgot.
Oh, you're good.
You're good.
So Ox, what about yourself? You ever had any personal paranormal experience?
I have, but I had, I guess, another perspective on all this stuff as well. I have survived some pretty gruesome shit, and not to say I'm the only one here who has, but I watched a lot of my friends die, and I didn't do any military service or any shit like that. It was one dude who came in and fucked everyone's night up. Part of me wonders if that dude was, possessed by some kind of demon or some shit to do that, because, his struggles with mental health were well documented, but part of me wonders if it was just, a spiral that was, nudged by something else to get to that point, I guess.
Yeah.
That's fair. I could see that as being.
Yeah. And I miss these friends a lot. And I sometimes I'll be at the store grabbing food or whatever, and I feel like I'll hear their voices on another aisle or whatever, and it's like, it's crazy shit.
Like, did it all happen at one time? I'm sorry if you don't want to talk about it.
No, it's all right. I survived a mass shooting, and that I was a bouncer at, and it didn't feel real in the moment,
Right.
Sometimes it still doesn't, but at times I'll hear those friends and whatnot talking to me. So,
who's the friend that had the brownish, blondish, sandy, dirty, brownish, blondish hair? Kind of like a darkish brown with a little bit of blonde in there.
I mean, yeah, there was the door girl.
There's what?
The door girl at the bar. She was, she would work the cash register right there at the door, and she had hair about that color.
This is a man. He's not coming in all the way. He's standing like far back. He's not coming in all the way, but he's kind of like, I'm trying to describe it as much as I can see it. It's like a darkish, but it's like they had brownish blonde in it, like hit the lights.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they all had darker hair. The ones that I knew, anyhow. No.
Interesting.
There was another one, and I didn't know him as well, but yeah, there was one.
I'm sorry, I couldn't. You said there's another one
there's another one that I didn't know as well of all them, of all those victims. But yeah, he was a tall dude, kind of brownish blondish hair.
Yeah.
Good family.
Like that. He's going like that. You got it. That's his way of going. You got it. Right here.
Yeah, that's him. Right.
Yeah, he's coming in further.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get into this reading right now. I'm not protected. I'm not being mean or anything.
No.
I don't have my set up and stuff like that, and what I got going on here. I don't want to invite anybody.
Yeah.
It's all good. If anything,
I just wanted to let you know that they came in.
If anything, I would love to tell him that his family's doing good. They're all proud of how he was. So, he was
gonna make me cry.
Yeah, he can hear you. He said, "I hear you, man."
Yeah, his dad's a particularly good guy, actually.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, but cool. When you started talking, he just came in, not all the way in, but as soon as you validated, he came in a little bit further, and so
that's crazy.
I just don't want to go into a full reading because I haven't done
No, I would not expect you to at all. I really wouldn't. That's, but that was crazy. And part of me, I guess, my question about all that was that dude who shot the place up possessed by some sort of demon or some crazy shit?
Yes.
Yeah, doesn't
Yes, he
surprise me.
was.
Yeah,
In fact, they're showing me his face. He had kind of like a crazy look in his eye, kind of like a crazy mad look in his eye, like not of this earthly plane.
Well, I met Shooter the week before. Funny enough, I was working the door, and he came up, and it was Halloween, and we shook hands and everything. I mean, someone who was a regular at the bar, I want to say, was like, "Hey, what's up? This is my buddy," and met him the week before. He was sizing up all the bouncers.
Wow.
Yeah, it's people can put themselves. There's people that are playing around with stuff. There's people that are hanging around. You've got to be very careful who your circle of friends are. You really do. And then even then you don't really know them unless you really, I mean, they could be they could be a beautician and dabbling in the dark magic. They could sit there one day and be reading the Bible, but as soon as they get done doing Bible study, they're in the back. They don't follow the Bible. It's like I always tell people, the devil can read the Bible. It doesn't mean he follows it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what a lot of people do too. They can read the Bible and then they turn around. They're going over here hanging out with people, doing spells, casting spells, calling in demons and things like that. And they get attached to their friends or anybody that has a depression problem or an anger management problem, or somebody that's really, really sick. I mean, so there's demons in hospitals too. And I got to make this clear too. Not everything happens and it's a demon too. Okay. So
Right.
I want to make that clear. The only reason why I'm saying it's a demon is because my guides are really like, yes, it is. So that's the only reason why I'm saying what it is. So, but not everything happens. It's a demon. Pardon me?
I appreciate that bit of insight there. That was really cool.
I know,
You're
that
welcome.
almost made me cry. Like, it really did.
You're welcome.
That touched me very much.
So Neptune, I guess I'd like to hop over to you, man. You're always silent on a lot of stuff like this. Have you ever had any true paranormal experiences that you can recall of?
Yeah, but I just have to say one thing before I go any further.
Sure.
A few of you already know that story, but Ox, for whatever it's worth, man, I'm glad to know you, and you're a goddamn hero for what you did that night.
That's right, sir. That's right.
Certainly not. I am most certainly not. That was my friends. That was all my friends.
I do have one particular encounter. It's been a number of years ago, but we were talking about, kind of how old Native American burial grounds can carry a lot of conjecture with like haunted places. And there was a place I used to go camping out at. I lived in eastern North Carolina for a number of years. And during that time, we had a particular place out in the woods near Harper's Crossroads, it's about 35 miles southwest of Raleigh, North Carolina. And
really?
yeah, there's a place out there, and I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me right now, but if you look it up, you'll find it. It is a place deep in the woods, and we got lost. Cue the nav jokes, Bandit. We got fucking lost, and
no, dude, you don't want to get lost in that area, man.
We got lost, and that particular area of North Carolina is known for being haunted. Pretty much everywhere in the UREs is pretty well haunted.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's one area that sticks out, and we stumbled on it by accident. That particular area, it's surrounded by trees.
You talking about the big circle where nothing grows?
Yeah.
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 I live not far from there. That's where I'm
the one near Siler City, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one on Harvest Crossroads. Yeah. So we wound up camping near there by accident. You hear weird noises at night. You'll hear what sounds like it sounds like a Wendigo. It's a jaw shattering screech. Well, in the daytime, we managed to stumble far enough in that we were able to find this haunted place by accident, which I wasn't even aware of at the time. And yeah, as Kaytlyn mentioned, nothing grows there in this little crop of circle. It's just dead. And if you walk close enough to it, it don't matter what the temperature is outside. Everything around you is about to get 40 or 50 degrees colder.
Mm-hmm.
It will send shivers down
And
your
you
spine.
can actually see like a film like cover like around and covering that area. Like I don't know if you could see it or not, but it's almost like a
it was like a fog.
Yes.
Yeah, it was like a fog.
Mm-hmm.
But it was colder than everything else around it. It's the most terrifying thing that we ever had come across, and it was getting late, so we just backtracked it out of there, and we went back to the car because we heard very out of place sounds for a place that is largely unoccupied in the fall. It's not time for the deer to go out and fully graze yet, but still, the weirdest thing about it is that in this little circle, I forget what it's called, nothing grows there. It is just dead. It looks like someone just poured diesel fuel and just lit a match.
It's not the Devil's Stomping Ground. That's somewhere else.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but
I can't recall it. We just call it the Dead Circle.
We found out later on that one of the legends goes that it was the site where a Native American tribal chief and some of his clan had died centuries ago. But I have no other information other than it gets really cold and it will send shivers down your spine. It is the most uncomfortable thing I've ever personally experienced. There's no cell service in this fog, as Kaytlyn mentioned. It's just it gives you a nauseous feeling. It makes you sick to your stomach.
Yeah, like the only thing you want to do is hightail it out of there, the opposite direction.
Yeah, that's demonic energy.
Mm-hmm. I actually had a Native friend who told me once, because my grandmother has this collection and she finds them all the time on her property. In her house, I've had many paranormal experiences. I know I said I've never seen like full apparitions, but I saw like half of one. That's the only time I've ever seen it. It was at her house, going across the top of the steps. But she has this big collection of arrowheads that she's found in her garden throughout the years. And I had a Native friend, I mentioned it to him one time, and he said, you don't keep those. They didn't just leave those laying around. If you're finding a lot of them like that, most likely because that was a war site, or they had to be abandoned because they were taken captive. Something horrific happened there. And you should not have those. And I've tried to tell my grandma that she thinks that's nonsense. But I'm telling you, like any kind of sleep paralysis I've ever had, where I felt like I've been lifted up out of the bed, or when like the sleep paralysis starts. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, where you can kind of hear a faint noise, or it sounds like a radio at first, and then it gets louder and louder and louder, and it's just like yelling in your ear. I've experienced that there. It's just
my sleep
like if you go
scared of me now,
if you're out in an area what Neptune was talking about, or you're anywhere near like the Appalachian Appalachian Trail, or the Pacific Northwest usually, or a lot of national parks. If you are carrying a walkie-talkie and it keys in, you're not there. There's times and nothing is said, or if it just says Ranger, that you're not supposed to answer that. You're not supposed to answer that stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
You're not supposed to answer that stuff. In the same way, if you see the stairs out in the woods.
Oh yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to walk up. You're not supposed to walk up the stairs.
You don't walk up the stairs.
Anytime you hear anything, call your name or make a noise or anything like that, and you do not know what
you don't
it is.
you don't answer. You don't go. You don't go because
No.
I mean we've all seen the movies where we know how that goes. Why would you do that? Okay.
I don't care where the
But
sound's coming from. I don't care how loud it was. I'm staying right here. I'm going to check it out. Are you
But
kidding me?
getting back to that, it's like again bringing up movies like when they, you know, like Kaytlyn says constantly, and I've said too, like nothing comes out just nobody pulls ideas just out of nowhere. Some of that stuff, I mean, is just terrifying to think about that has actually happened, and people are just like, no, man, that's Hollywood nonsense. No, I mean, ideas just don't get pulled out of thin air. People, the screenwriters don't just sit down and go, I just had an idea come to me. Let's write this movie. No.
I mean,
You do know that Hollywood is actually like into
Yeah. That's a whole nother episode.
They will have this true knowledge to put into movies and to sitcoms and to cartoons and everything. And people are like, oh, it must be their daydreaming imagination. No, this stuff is real.
No. In the original Hocus Pocus, okay, Allison, you know, she's the big history buff of the museum, right? Well, you can't actually hear it in the movie because the scene is taking place on the outside of the house. But what he's talking about,
Cue Jimmy's wife in this conversation now. Hocus Pocus, man.
Yeah. Well, what he's talking about is the origins of sisters, and like Winifred's dad was a warlock. Okay. The second one, I can't remember the one that sniffs out the children was a bloodhound. Her dad was a bloodhound, and then Sarah Parker's character, you know, the blonde one, was the village idiot's child. But like stuff like that actually freaking happened. Like, I don't think that's fake at all.
I'm gonna roll back just a little bit because I wanna make fun of Bandit for a second because look, bro, I pulled this idea out of thin air, mashing Deadpool and Beetlejuice together.
Has that been done yet, though?
I'm the first one. Nobody thought of this one.
Why? Okay, so I mean, but still, I mean, think about it. So that might be an exception, but I mean,
well, creative idea, like
that's a creative idea. We're not doing.
That's what I do. But that's what I do. Like you guys know, I'm a bit of a kooky person.
But even then,
Jim, you didn't play that voice clip for the audience.
I did a little while ago.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry.
Yes,
but ideas that you think of that are original to you, I think you're still tapping into something. I still think
you're pulling two things and putting them together.
I'm memeing
those two things were those Beetlejuice and Deadpool were created by different individuals though. So you took something and created it and labeled it as your own.
It's a meme.
Well, you do know Hocus Pocus is about adrenochrome, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, please don't. No, don't say that. Please don't say that.
Adrenochrome is a real thing now. That's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
I mean,
that's a real thing. And yes,
I don't go the Q route, but I will say.
No, I don't either.
That the thing does exist.
Why'd you just ruin Hocus Pocus? That was.
Because it's true.
Because it's true. It's 3 witches after killing children to save their souls so they can stay young. That's what adrenochrome does. It's
So what about the witches of Eastwick? Are we still okay with that?
And
does that have some underlying
like symbolism of
Jack Nicholson being Satan and stuff like that? But
any movie's better than the other. I don't even watch movies, to be honest with you. I don't. I study.
I think once your eyes are open to what it really is, I think you're able to pick up on those hidden innuendos and those hidden signals and messages.
It's not even hidden. It's in plain sight. They put it right under our noses.
No. I'm talking about
and hocus. Look
for
at the
people
O and
who
hocus.
know.
You got the pedo symbol and one of the pedo symbols in the O of hocus, and then on
For
the
people
candle.
who know what's going on, like we in this group, when we watch those movies, I think it'd be more difficult for
So
those.
difficult, Bandit. It's so difficult. I'm telling you from experience. It's so,
What?
Yeah.
It's so difficult to try and watch things and not see all the symbolism.
Right.
But that's the thing. We can pick up on the symbolism, and it's
You
not
think
like it's not subliminal. It's not getting to
Not
a subliminal.
to us anymore.
Subliminally
Catch it.
getting to us. We can see that
Yeah.
stuff, and what other people will just breeze through the movie and not pay attention to what they're really taking in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're
Operation Mockingbird.
I hate to do this, you guys, but I actually gotta leave the chat right now. I got some stuff to do this evening.
I
so
do
I'm
too. Actually, I was supposed to get off at 10.
Well, you guys have a good rest of this episode and have a great evening.
Sayonara.
It was
I'll
nice
talk
meeting
to
you.
you soon.
It was very good to meet you, Vicki. I'll
Thank
see you
Nice to
again.
meet you too. Okay.
Same to you, Kaytlyn. You have a fantastic night.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys
okay.
around.
Bye, Bandit. Bye, Neptune. I'll see you guys
Bye,
later.
See you in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Miss Vicki, before we do get out of here for the evening, though, myself, I had a kind of a cool ghost story. I guess I was saying a poltergeist story, more or less myself, where this thing didn't want me living in a lake house that I was renting for a time, but I wasn't going to give up on it, and me and this thing went head to head to the point that it set my house on fire. Like there was a whole epidemic of throwing silverware at me and sticking knives and forks in the wall and doing the cabinet opening and shutting and stuff like that, and writing on the bathroom window mirrors, and they're running through the house when nobody's in the house, and when I'm in the basement and stuff like that. And then of course, like I said, set the house on fire. Like I did some research and found a fella had hung himself in the basement. And to my guess was, I always thought it was him, but obviously there could have been something more there. Like he did that. He obviously did that for reasons unknown to myself. You know what I mean? Like that. There could have been some kind of force previously already there, and there seemed to be, because there was some spooky stories out of that entire neighborhood, including a giant catfish drowning a 4-year-old girl in the lake that was that was in the neighborhood of that property and stuff back in the 80s. And there's even like newspaper article clippings that you can find where they drained the lake and found this catfish. And so I always found it as kind of an interesting story for me. Like that's definitely one of those paranormal experiences that actually happened later in life. So I was already believing in them. So it was that's why I felt I was like, listen, you're not kicking me out of what I feel is like the peak of awesomeness. My backyard's literally a lake. Like, we will fight this one out.
Yeah, but it ended up setting fire to the house and you got out, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, because if it was like telling you, no, I'm in control here. I've got the power, and it would have killed you, no matter if it set the fire to the house or not. It would have either possessed you, killed you, one way or the other. It was letting you know, no, I've got the power here. And it wasn't that man that did it. It was actually a demon that's attached to that area right there.
I believe that.
And it possessed that guy to kill himself. My guys are telling me, because he heard voices.
Well, it's
telling him to kill him. Yeah, so
that's very interesting. Like that's
what a lot of this is with suicide attempts. Okay, demons try to get you so depressed and down and out, and they talk to you and they tell you, oh, you're no good, nobody loves you, you have nothing, da 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 da, you're worth nothing, da da da. And people that sink, and then they move in, and then they start taking over more and more and more, to where the voice of the demon is more powerful than their own voice, and they turn around and they take their lives.
I think this is where we had a good talk before the show began, or right when the show began, like there's such a common misconception about what, like, there's so many different like variations of like what, you know, beings people see or think they're seeing. There's so many different, I think more of them are bad than good. I think the ones you see more of are the bad ones, and I think the ones you hear are more than likely good ones.
Well, there's trickster spirits too that like to just, they get a kick out of like moving stuff around, seeing you look for it, you know.
Yeah, they're not.
You.
There's no ill intent. They're just there to mess with you.
Yeah, and there are some spirits that are like that. That will protect you and protect the home.
My guardian angel retired 20 years ago. 20 years ago, man, it's gone, man. But yeah, we had to get that out of the way because, like, abroad, it's a broad grouping. Just say ghosts, because we had some people on the show the day before yesterday. Like, we were talking about you know, there could be interdimensional beings just that can't be classified with spirits, ghosts, demons, stuff like that. And people will see those and like, oh my God, I just saw a ghost. No, you saw an interdimensional being that has no chance of interacting with you. You just saw like a shifting being, you know? Yeah, it's just such a, it really is such like, it is something once you get into, I think you have to focus all your study time on that group of the, you know, just the spiritual realm like that, you know, because there's so much to it. Because I even think cryptids fall into this maybe slightly. Because that, I mean, we could do a whole episode on cryptids, you know, wendigos, skinwalkers, chupacabras, stuff like that. But
we have one planned for Spooky Month already, actually.
Yes, we do. I have never. Now, my wife has been to Waverly Hills. I have never. There are so many. And believe it or not, I think the South actually has more areas to visit that are in the Pacific Northwest. I think that's a huge area too. But the South has more haunted areas than the North does. And I know there are a lot in Kentucky, especially if you get around to the Civil War battlefields. We have one here that was one of the largest Civil War battlefields in Kentucky. And they say on certain nights there are just people roaming the hills that you can see. Yeah, it's wild. They say the World War I battlefields, World War II battlefields and stuff like that are extremely haunted.
Sure.
Yes, they don't. It doesn't ever stop. They constantly reenact the. They're still stuck there. A lot of them are still stuck there. They constantly reenact everything, and then they don't understand who we are.
Yeah,
you know, they can see us. They don't understand how, because we're dressed different, we look different, and everything, and so it's like they're constantly. I wouldn't say they'd hurt you. They might mess with you a little bit, or just. I think it just depends on the spirit, really, the spirit, and if they're. It's like if they're out to really hurt somebody, and stuff. So I think it just depends on that. But yeah, they're constantly reenacting this. The event, the tragedy that happened, and I have to agree with you. I believe the South is more haunted than the North, but I believe it goes the South, the North, the West Coast, and then over there the East Coast, especially New York, Pennsylvania, Chicago area. A lot of activity over there. You know, you got the gangs, you got the old mobsters, you got the what is it, the Tea Party and everything that happened, the shootout at the Tea Party, and you know, so yeah, there's a lot of activity and stuff over there too. But I agree. believe the South is worse than any the other areas from what I experienced and heard of.
Bandit, think about being stuck in a perpetual state of reenacting the war you died in every single day.
Nah, dude, I don't want to do that, please, man.
I'm just saying though, like
having sand perpetually ground into every opening. You know, no, I don't want sand, and I don't want sand all over my skin for the rest of existence. I can't, like, just. In the question I want to, the question I like to ask myself in situations like that is, when you do see them stuck there, I mean, is that just like leftovers? Like, or did they do something that would cause them to be stuck in like a constant loop like that?
Purgatory loop.
Did they is there a reason they're stuck in purgatory?
Well,
or is it just, are we seeing like leftovers? Are they gone and some of them is just left behind, like the tortured part left behind?
Okay, some of it is like residual, very strong, intense residual energy. Okay, some of it's that. But also, say you're laying in bed and you're asleep and somebody breaks into your house and shoots you.
No.
No, I'm just saying.
I get it.
I'm not wishing upon anybody. I'm giving you an example. The last thing you remember is you were asleep. So you don't know you've passed away. You have a choice to go to the light or stay. And so you're trying to figure out what's going on. You don't know. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you.
You choose not to go to the light. So every night you're repeating that and repeating the enactment.
So a sudden unexpected death when you don't, like when you're doing something or in the middle of something, a sudden unexpected death could possibly like cause you to stay behind and keep reliving your last moments over and over and over again.
Yeah, or something severely tragic where you don't want to leave your buddies. And, like, imagine a big war and you got your whole troops and everything like that, and your buddies and stuff, and they're falling and stuff like that, and then you get shot. But you don't realize that the last thing you know is you're looking at your buddy to make sure, hey, Tom, you over there? You gonna cover me? Boom, So you don't realize you got killed, and you're coming out, and it's like, hey, Tom, you hear me? Bob, you hear me? And so you have a choice. Do I stay behind or do I go to the light? But they also, they have their own stuff that's going on too, because if you kill somebody, even though it's to protect, you still have to, a lot of people are like, should I go to the light? Because what about Judgment Day? What's my punishment going to be and things? So they stay behind, and that keeps the reenactment going. Does that make sense?
I got it.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on, we mentioned a little bit about, like if somebody's been cursed, can people be like cursed to after death remain in limbo here in somebody's house, in a building, on a certain area of land?
Yes. Yes, they can. You have a choice. You have a choice to go to the light or go to the light and be presented, for Judgment Day and everything. A lot of people are scared because they don't want to go to hell.
Nope, so nobody's in hell right now. Yeah, nobody's in hell yet.
Yeah, I don't. I'm just saying. Yeah. There's literally. I think Earth is, HE double toothpick. So anyway, but there's also some beauty to it too.
Okay, I can understand that.
But the thing is that they have a choice. They have a choice to stay here or to go. And if they stay here, they take the chance they have to run from soul splitters. Okay, those are demons that literally come after the soul and split the soul. And then that makes part of them a demon. And then the other part is like the angelic, the good part. And it's split from each other. The soul split. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but they have a choice. But a lot of people are too scared. They're too scared, or they don't know that they're dead, or they
Well, they're
stay there
afraid of
too-
the uncertain.
right.
They're afraid of the unknown. I mean, all of a sudden, like you're doing something, and bam, you know, you're looking into a bright light, and you've got a choice. And I mean, people are like a majority of people are afraid of the unknown. So what does that say? I mean, how many ghost-like beings could be wandering the planet?
There's millions of them. I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot. We walk through them every day, or we walk past them all the time. I mean, I was driving down the road one time, and I literally looked at this car, and I was just like, oh my God, there was just something with this car. And it was just like, ugh. All of a sudden, I seen this demon flying. It was attaching to the back end of the car. And I said a prayer for those people.
Wow.
But also another thing too, you got to understand something too, is these spirits, a lot of them want some vengeance, or their deaths figured out, or their murders, you know, and some of them want vengeance.
On anybody. It doesn't necessarily have to be the person that killed them.
Yeah. And some of them don't want you in their home. Some of them don't want you in their land. They don't want you in their car. They don't want you wearing the jewelry, or sitting in their rocking chair, or looking in the mirror that you got from the thrift store for 99 cents, because they're attached to it. So there's all this, you know, it's a combination. It's a combination of a multitude of different things. So.
For sure.
And the only reason the only thing is to get somebody in there that can hear them, see them with their, like I see spirits and demons and stuff with my eyes and my third eye. And they can be tricksters at times too. They can try to hide, but I'm blessed that I have my guides to tell me where they're at and things. And it's not easy to get rid of them. But a lot of them, you know, a lot of them want their murders figured out. They want vengeance. They don't know they're dead, they're lost, or they don't want to go. They like being here, harassing people. They get a kick out of it.
I mean, I guess I could, you know, I guess I could see that, you know, understand that, because there has always been stories of, you know, ghosts playing tricks and such like that. Like, so I mean, I guess, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
As wild as it may sound, that makes sense. So.
Yeah.
So Bandit, you got any other questions?
No, it's been good, man. These are the ones I like, the ones that get you thinking way outside the, you know, the norm.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Like I think there's always room for this kind of thing, because it's something that just about everybody I know has had some form of experience. You know, I've had multiple experiences, but that's just, I think this has been different parts of my life and different things that I've ran across. And, you know, that's just me. Neptune, you got any questions or any last thoughts you got for this evening?
No, I think I'm good, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, Miss Vicki.
Hey, Neptune, how you doing?
I'm very busy tonight, unfortunately.
Well, it's good seeing you.
Good seeing you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Miss Vicki, of course, you know, we'll have it set to where you guys can get back and find her at Instagram under her Born Awake Oracle moniker there. And, you know, she does do the mediumship work and stuff. You know, I mean, I if it's something you're into or something you're looking for, I do encourage you to reach out to her. She knows what she's talking about and stuff. You know, I appreciate her coming on here and telling her stories and sharing stuff with us and things like that, because like that's really cool from my perspective, to talk to somebody that sees it as a normal everyday part of her life. And so, you know, I appreciate you so much. You know,
thank you.
Definitely. And I'll make sure I share those links. And you guys know, before I get out of here, I always got to share a good joke. So, why do you never see pirates crying?
Why?
They like their privateers. Good night, everybody.